Next, we're pleased to hear from survivor Leslie Meisels. Mr. Meisels is from Toronto, Canada. He is also meeting his liberators for the first time. Leslie, along with his brother Frank, was liberated on the train near Magdeburg. Leslie is originally from Hungary, and his wife, Eva, is a survivor of the Budapest ghetto. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Leslie Meisels.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start anything, please allow me to express my utmost gratitude for the gentlemen who liberated us, those brave American soldiers who, as they were saying it a few days ago, or in these days here, that they didn't do anything heroic, they just did their job. But with that job, they gave us back our life. And for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. There would be a long, long story to tell the experiences of mine during the Holocaust. Many, many things what I would have told has been said already. Therefore, I am not going to repeat it. I would rather say a few words about how mainly the students here could learn from the experiences, from the stories, what they heard here. Before I go into anything else, I would like to mention, doesn't matter how many survivors you hear, he or she is alive because a miracle happened, or miracles happened to him or her, which kept him or her alive. And the other constant thing is that doesn't matter how many survivors you are hearing or seeing, every single one's story is different from one another. I am not going to go into my personal experiences in details. Just in a nutshell, I was born in a small town in northeastern Hungary, which was 99.9% genuine Hungarian. 10,000 population town, 45 Jewish families who were integral part of the town. I myself happened to be a seventh generation to be born there, raised as a Hungarian with a Jewish religion. That is how we were living. And Hungary, because it was an ally to the Nazis, was not overrun the same way like other European countries. Therefore, the Jews of Hungary, with restrictive laws, were living relatively normal lives all the way until the spring of 1944. Hungary had seen, the Hungarian government had seen at the spring of 1944 that the Nazis have lost the war and secretly wanted to approach the American Allied forces to get out of that alliance. The Aerocross Party, which was the equivalent of the Nazi German Party in Hungary, got a hint of this desire, and they informed the Nazi German regime, which on March 19, 1944, from one night to the next morning, occupied Hungary. With it immediately came Adolf Eichmann and the plan to be put into immediate carry on to exterminate the Jews of Hungary. Within days, the Yellow Star had to be put on, and within weeks, the deportations began. I do not have to go into details because you had seen and learned about how atrocious situations existed in the ghettos. And when they were putting us into the cattle wagon, you had seen it, you heard about it. It was a horrible situation, but the first miracle happened to me while I am alive, that our train was going toward Auschwitz, and when it left a fair-sized city in northern Hungary, at the night when we looked through the barbed wire window, we had seen the station's name, Kassa, which today part of Slovakia and called Košice, and next morning we had seen the same thing. And our train continued toward Austria. After the war, after liberation, we found out that partisans, resistance fighters, north of that city, blow up a bridge, and our train changed direction, and our fate, instead of going to Auschwitz, where I have been together with my mother, my 10 and 11-year-old little brother, and my paternal grandmother, who was a widow, we would have been immediately separated. Mother, grandmother, and 2 brothers would have been immediately gone to the gas chamber. I most likely would have been saved for slave labor. Would I have survived or not, that I don't know. As a result of this bridge blow-up, we have been redirected to Strasshov, which already had been mentioned several times in these 2 days. And from there we were put into a small group and taken to a farm where all summer long and this fall we were working as slave laborers. Only thing what I can tell about that, we didn't have our freedom, but we did have food. They wanted our work, and they gave us food. At the time when the last crop, sugar beet, has been harvested, in the end of November, November 28, 1944, they were taking us back to Strasshov. In similar situation, they put us back into cattle wagons, and on December 4, 1944, we arrived to a rail yard from where we were walking, marching approximately 5 kilometers to a complex which we never could imagine what it is. It happened to be Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. We were together. Because of this requirement, this was a miracle that our train came in and we were not divided, but mother and children and grandmother stayed together. During the time from December 4 until April the 7th, I don't have time or desire right now to go into details what the cold, the starvation, the flea, the typhus, and the Holocaust were doing to us. We became skeletons who were dragging ourselves. We dwindled in number, and on April 7th came the order, get your belongings, and you are going to be taken away from here. At that time, I visited my grandmother in one other block, which they called the hospital block, which was not a hospital. It was a place where those who were not able to move were taken care of by young volunteers without any medication or doctor's availability. My grandmother whispered into my ears when I leaned down almost to touch her mouth, "God bless you, my dear, my darling child." That was the last what I heard from her. She perished maybe the same day, maybe a few days later, and she most likely ended up in that horrific big pile of dead bodies which were next to our Block 37 across from the crematorium, which was not able to burn already all the dead bodies at that time. On the train, when we were marching in on December 4th, strong and marching, at this time we were dragging ourselves because we were skeletons. I was taller than today, and I weighed 75 pounds. That is the weight of my skeleton and skin and shriveled organs.